So this is Kelly, Steve, and Kyle reviewing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We all at least seen the original game. I played through it multiple times, the original Final Fantasy VII. We all played through the original Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it took us a little while to finish this one. It's a very long game. There's quite a bit of side stuff to do, but there is certainly a lot to talk about, and if I'm just going to open off and start out with this game, I think we're gonna say quite a bit of things that are like negative about this game because there's so many little mini games. There's so many like just fights against certain enemies that are gonna irritate you, and there's so many like little moments like this throughout the game. With that being said, when I'm looking at the overall picture and I'm thinking about my experience with this game, I am through the moon about this game. I mean, overall. I wouldn't say it's up there with my favorite Final Fantasy games, but the fact that I would say it's very close, and if it's one tier below my favorite Final Fantasy games when I'm thinking of like the all-time list, is an achievement that I didn't think Square Enix would be able to do at this time, or do again after Final Fantasy X. This game has blown me away with the amount of content, the way that the world is put together, and we're going to go into more details about this stuff later, but just like being able to drive your boat from one spot to the island, feeling like you have these massive open world maps, and then just on a more personal level, the cutscenes, the way they're animated, all the characters look beautiful. The writing can be very good at certain times. It can even surpass the original at times, while it can be worse at other times. This team has rejuvenated my faith in the Final Fantasy franchise in a way that I didn't think was possible. And I think anyone that has any interest in the Final Fantasy series, I know that it's probably a little bit tricky because a lot of people probably didn't play Remake first, and then they're like, well, can I jump into Rebirth? Man, you got to give this game a shot. This game is fantastic, and we're going to be nitpicking a lot of stuff here because, boy, is there a lot to do that with.
Yeah.
But overall, this game is great, and I see myself replaying it maybe even at the end of this year, and I'm very excited to talk about it with you guys.
Yeah, you guys actually got me into Final Fantasy. I don't think I've ever played a Final Fantasy game until I started doing these videos with you guys, and I stepped in on...
Or 10.
Like, as far as the the originals, I probably never would have bought that bundle that was on the PlayStation Store of like the first 6 games if I never did this with you guys. I went to play 7, the original. I went to play 9, or watched you guys play 7 and 9. So this, just coming from like a relatively new perspective on this series, this game, to me, delivers everything that I would want to see a new Final Fantasy VII or a new Final Fantasy game be. And we've talked ad nauseum before about how disappointing the most recent offerings have been, and this one was not that. This was a great open world experience, graphically stunning. The world is huge. There's just so much that makes me happy that I've gotten into Final Fantasy. Like, even if it's late, at least I'm able to enjoy this experience now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And with that being said...
Yeah, go ahead.
I was about to say, with that being said, we got a long list of negatives and minuses. There could be some really nitpicky stuff in here. There could be some not. Maybe some stuff we feel a little bit more serious about. You have our general overall feelings of the game. So if there's a lot of negative stuff that we're throwing at you, know that it is still weighed that way inside of ourselves, even if we are frustrated by it. But because there's quite a bit here, so that's gonna exist from time to time.
This game is huge.
Mm-hmm.
It is fucking massive. Not just from a world traveling perspective, even though it is massive that way, but there's so much side content.
Mm-hmm.
From somebody who loves their RPGs to be immersive and take a lot of time, I like being drawn into a time sink with my games, especially in RPG, and this game does not disappoint in that regard.
It
feels huge.
It was pretty crazy going into that first grass area, and I guess my expectations were not what the game actually was. I'm like, oh, this is way bigger. And then when I found out you can not only go back to Calm shortly after when it's like, oh, the story people are like, oh, we're not going back there. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be able to go back there. It's like my thought process. This game's going to be linear. It's going to keep me going. And then, no, you can not only go that back there, you can go to the other side of it. There's like a highway. You can't really get a good view of Midgar. I guess that would have been difficult for them to do. They're going to have to do it in the next game, so they're just pushing that away. They're pushing it to the side for later. But it's just, Yeah, I didn't think that this game, I thought it'd just be linear and then kind of open sections. And that's kind of what it is, but the open sections are way bigger and more
They're
open than what I thought it would be. And
Right.
I do have the amount of content is like a positive and a negative. I'm not sure if you need as much as what it is that they have in the game. But
Right. I will say, though, that the way they divvied it out, it felt very doable within each region.
I think that's the reason why I would say all of us probably did everything in every region before we moved on.
Yeah, it looked doable.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I can do this, and then I can move on. It felt like it wasn't a endless task list.
And there were, like, fairly desirable rewards for doing each thing.
Yep,
Didn't
summons.
feel tedious. Yeah, yep. It wasn't an Assassin's Creed where you're just like, jump into a hay bale and go fucking pick a pocket or whatever. It actually felt like I wanted to complete each region, not just because I wanted to be a completionist or whatever, but because I wanted to get the rewards and not miss anything before going on to the next section.
And at times, you're just rewarded really good character development. They really make that worthwhile on some of those cutscenes.
One thing I do have that's a positive is, and I'm just comparing it to like Final Fantasy 15. Remember when you got to that one town with the electrical plant, and you're like, all right, this seems like a pretty big, sizable Final Fantasy town, and then the other town that you go to is like the one with the waterfall, and they did make it an update where you can control the boat and get back there. That's cool, but that was it. Those are the towns. This game's got fully realized towns with different characters, all of these different side things built in there, like the card people, which are just always bonkers. And it's got like this whole world. Like these towns are so well built. Even the first one that you go into, I think it's better built than the one town that Yaz is talking about, the electrical plant town in 15. So it's like crazy that they're able to make this work in an open world space with towns of this level of detail, not only of this size.
And since you already mentioned it, and we're talking about side quests, I'll say the same thing that most people are saying. Queen's Gambit is fantastic. Mm-hmm. They really nailed it with
Queen's Blood.
Minigame.
Queen's Gambit is the TV show.
Yes. Oh yeah, I like that they invested as much time as they did in it, as opposed to other minigames where it was just kind of secluded to a region, and then you move on, you never do it again. And I could talk about how annoying those ones are, but every region is another extension of Queen's Blood to explore, and new characters, and you're growing, you're building your deck, and the design of that game is it's not like massively open, but you can get pretty creative with the kind of decks that you can make, and it took a lot of thought, a lot of work. They did a really good job with that.
Yeah,
I would agree.
More than I originally thought, and it just kind of developed to get deeper, I guess, once I got farther in. Well, what I think they need to do is they have like moves that you can use in combat, like Morph, allow you to get a card that way, allow you to buy booster packs that give you random cards. Because if they had did that, every playthrough of this game, when you're playing that card minigame, would be different. Sure, they give you like a preset set of cards that could kind of give you enough to win, but if they added in more variety instead of just a linear, you're going to beat this guy and get this card, and then that's it. You can't, if you challenge him again, you get nothing. If they added in more of this RPG randomness to it, of what's already a good game, like, it'd be undoubtedly the best Final Fantasy minigame of all time. So
yeah, trade you for cards and give you like some nice little useful things too. Like,
yeah, that would be really cool. Mm-hmm.
If they just would have fucking eliminated some of the mini games or some of the side content, you trim the fat and just expand on the stuff that works, like Queen's Blood. Put more
the piano.
Time, and I don't care about the piano. But either way, it's a nitpicky thing to say about a minigame that they did very well, even though it's still valid. It could have been better, but I think it was still fantastic.
Even if you compared it to, obviously, they should be better than this. That game's old, but just like the original Final Fantasy VII, like, I would much rather play the new motorcycle game, which I really don't care that much compared to, at least the one they have in this one. The newer boxing game is more fun. I know Steve or Kyle got really upset how hard it is, and it is certainly,
like it.
It's very difficult.
I didn't hate all of the mini games, even though I can't think of one outside of like the chicken we already talked about. The boxing I didn't like.
Cactus. The cactars running around.
Oh, the cactars kind of sucked.
The cactar one was my least favorite.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the amount. After I got to a certain point, the game is already 100 hours if you want to try to do as much as you can without being a total completionist. By the time you get to like the third to last or second to last or last region, I'm just like, fuck, I have to do another one of these bullshits, and it's tied into a part, like a side quest of the region where you know you have to do it like 3 times.
Yeah, me and Steve said that those are often the worst ones. Yeah, where you play as Robo-Chad or whatever.
Robo-Chad.
Oh yeah, I also have this note written down here. Fuck you, Chadley, again. Wow, is that all of my notes? Is that the whole sheet? Yeah, so I have fuck you, Chadley written down, and the reason why fuck you, Chadley is said by me over like 300,000 times is, one, he makes these like snooty little remarks whenever you fucking quit out of his stupid fucking little VR bullshit games. He's just like, oh, is that a little too challenging for you? And I'm like, Chadley, everyone wishes you were dead. Shut the fuck up. Like, doesn't he catch a hint that everybody hates him? Does he know that? And then he like pops up every now and then. He's like, Cloud! And then and he fucking calls you all the time. And then the fucking
Cloud.
summons are still Chadley. He just makes those worse. It's like, these are cool things. These are awesome. They're practically in the world already, but Chadley has to get himself in there somehow. He's probably the one that killed off the summons so he could make his stupid little VR bullshit of them.
Yeah, essentially Chadley is a shitty filter that makes everything worse. All good content goes through Chadley and then turns into shittier content because of Chadley.
And it's true, too, because it's not just the summons. It's like every single time he pops up and says Cloud, like he sounds like he's masturbating to you.
Oh, I'm detecting an uncontrollable pounding in my chest. Cloud.
It's like, okay, I didn't need to hear that. If you're doing that, do it on your own time.
Well,
And I get it,
like
Cloud's
that.
a good-looking guy. I mean, every guy's jerked off to him once or twice.
Yeah.
But, like, he just has to keep it more to himself.
I'm gonna throw a curveball here. I actually came to appreciate Chadley as...
What?
Yeah. Not the character, but the device. He ends up being an effective device to like justify the side quests that you're doing. Because everything flows through Chadley. Chadley's like, go explore this new area, go discover these new monsters, go fight
Cloud.
this boss, blah blah blah. So it's
Cloud.
you could achieve probably the same thing just with a message board, but to me those two things are kind of a wash. Either you read a message board and attain quests, or you talk to Chadley and attain quests. It's kind of the same thing.
You could talk to someone in town, and they could be like the monster hunting people.
Exactly.
For the
Each
monster
of
ones.
Chadley's categories could be handled by a different person just for
A different
variety.
NPC. Yeah, and they just wouldn't be done by Chadley. I think it
also just wouldn't be
starts...
VR. VR ruins everything.
Right,
too.
it starts with VR being bad, and it also starts with Chadley being a horrible design and just a horrible person.
He's not a person,
think-
he's AI.
Yeah,
Don't-
you should
don't
run
get me
into
going on this
summons
rant.
in the world. The damn the fight should just be Coliseum fights. Because why not? You know, actual real stakes. We're already playing a video game. We don't need to play a game in a game.
But do we expect there to be a Coliseum in every region?
No, but you could go back to other regions. They got like 3 Colosseums in this game, or 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're basically in the same area.
I just found myself not hating him as much, and Kelly yelled at me when he found out I play the game without listening to it. So maybe that's part of the reason I don't hate Chadley as much, because Kelly hates hearing his voice.
I think that would help.
Yeah. Well, it helped me not hate Chadley as much, I guess.
Yeah, so I think it would help for the not hating Chadley and hurt for every other aspect of the game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, deviating back to a little tie into mini games, is I don't like how everything becomes a mini game, and it started with a Chadley thing with just scanning those crystals for the summons. And it's like, wait, why is this a click triangle at the right time and thing?
And that
why is
one
this,
never
like-
changes. That one has the most reason to not exist.
Very
Right?
repetitive.
It's just kind of pointless. Like,
Yeah, just
this
have you press
wasn't
triangle
necessary.
on it.
Like, I found it, I clicked on it. That's all I need to do.
A similar thing I have is for like, yeah, maybe you could call it a mini game, but when you're running around with chocobos and you're digging stuff up, the chocobos should be every process of that should be quicker. The chocobo sniffing for an
time it takes
object,
to sniff,
finding it,
yep.
yep. And then the time it takes, I guess the dig's already pretty quick, but it's just like the sniffing process and finding the wave should be immediate. And I think if you
And
did that, it
The
would be
dig ain't
kind of
very
fun.
generous either. So,
Yeah.
like, you could be just a little off and like, nope, try dig it again. Screw
And I'm
you.
very okay with that part. It's really just the finding it thing. Just make that simpler.
I like the the payoff of it with the relics that you get and the what's his name? He's in the original game fight.
Oh, Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh. Yeah, he's a fantastic, just a weird, ridiculous character, and I like him a lot.
He always is in every Final Fantasy.
Yeah, he started with 5.
Anyway, should we talk about combat?
Yeah. Let's talk about combat.
So I think the combat actually improved in this game quite a bit.
Yeah, I could give multiple reasons on why that is. Multiple positive parts.
The summons now are like actually able to be strategized. You know how to trigger the summons.
Absolutely.
That's a huge positive.
It's a huge positive.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not just certain fights now, since you can do it on any fight. Most of the time you won't need to.
Right.
The fight will be over before you can summon, since you need to break someone or whatever.
Stagger.
But yeah, it's really cool just being able to summon on any fight.
The synergy attacks, I think, are also surprisingly desirable in combat.
Absolutely. I don't know if...
Not for me.
Really?
Well, which synergy attacks are you talking about, Steve? Because there's 2 forms of those.
There's a few... okay.
Because there's... and 2 different types, I mean. There's a type that you use just from charging up multiple people's ATBs. And you'll use them on the menu. And then there's a type where you press R1. And there's kind of the ones that don't cost ATB gauges. Or anything.
Yeah, it's the ones that don't cost ATB I never found much use to use. I'll use the ones that are like the big use them up like kind of things, because why wouldn't you?
I love the big use them up ones, and the ones that don't cost ATB I actually found when I did use them were far stronger than what I originally thought. So
they're worth doing if you're playing Aerith, because she sucks.
Not only that, but Cloud with most other characters like Tifa, he's got this charge up where if your enemy doesn't move, he's doing like an absurd amount of damage with no ATB with his big attack that you can do. It is actually really worth it once you know how to do it. But I'd say that's a thing with a lot of the characters in this game and a lot of the combat. Some of the different characters you have to learn stuff. I've seen someone else play Aerith and they're putting down these things and shooting lasers, and I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. So
yeah, it's just too much work to get Aerith going. Like her ATB feels a little too slow, and then it just needs a lot of setup.
So maybe you could play her better than how we played her, though, I guess is what I'm getting at. And maybe you do have to learn some of these characters a little bit more than we were willing to invest. But it certainly is cool that you can, essentially, for most of this game, pick your own characters. And the fact that they all play so differently from each other. And then you also have the customization within the characters, because you still have the materia system, you still have all those old abilities that are just classic Final Fantasy abilities. I mean, those are kind of what you'd expect in a Final Fantasy game, but after like Final Fantasy 16 came out, that doesn't have any of those, and even 15 really didn't have any of them. Just being able to keep those in here, they're also in Remake. It just makes for an amazing combat system with, yeah, I'd agree with Kyle, upgraded from Remake with the summons, and I would say the synergy abilities are just a lot of fun. Like, the spectacle of them when you get those almost limit break ones, when you use like 3 ATB bars, they're so cool looking. And I don't know if you guys saw most of them with all these other characters or unlocked them, but there's a lot of really cool ones, and there's a few of them that I still didn't see.
Just to touch on something you've already said, I think it's cool that each character can be played. It's got a unique feel. Barrett feels different than Aerith. Aerith feels different than Cloud. Cloud feels different than Tifa. Yuffie, Red. I don't play Kate, but I know Kate feels different. But they all feel unique.
I don't do Kate either, but
I
Kelly
don't do
likes
Kate
Kate.
ever.
Kate, when he's not even on his like fat guy, has a good distance attack similar to Cloud, where you roll and then you can do some magic wave attacks.
Yep.
And he actually attacks pretty quick and gets his ATB out fast. So when he's close to someone,
I think
so
we all abuse the shit out of Yuffie, but she's really good.
Yuffie's really good.
Yuffie's the boss killer. Like,
Yeah.
hits the weaknesses and spams from a distance and dodges really well. Yeah.
And you
Yuffie's
top
Rex.
Doppelganger on top of that. And then
Exactly.
the fucking shuriken thing that she throws, dude. She's
And
a
her
beast from
ATB gauge
distance.
is always full, so if you do summon too, she can just spam the summons things, because she doesn't need them for much.
Yep.
Just prayer every now and then, whip out a prayer. Speaking of which, prayer was good this game.
Oh, prayer was
Prayer's
great.
great.
Prayer is one of the best moves in the game, especially since they don't give you very much materia that's like an all materia in the original Final Fantasy VII, and this one it's like
yeah, it's still
magnified.
stingy on that. I have a complaint for a limited of good materia, but
Yeah. But because they limit that, it makes prayer a really good materia. One thing that I do think is a positive, just considering it over the original Final Fantasy VII, is that in this game, you kind of want to put materia on everybody instead of just taking the same materia and swapping it around to new characters as you have to play them. I think it's cool that you can make almost every single character different and give them their own materia that they're playing with instead of always swapping around your best materia to make everyone play the same.
Right. It feels good knowing everyone's leveling up materia on their own speed.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing too.
Like saves a lot
leveling
of time.
Leveling up and being even a small part of combat when they're not there and traveling around with you is really cool and adds way more.
Yeah, having them like kind of sit back in the distance and do some range support, that actually felt kind of nice, just showing everyone's still technically there.
It does feel nice too to have the Final Fantasy X, or sorry, not Final Fantasy X, the opposite of Final Fantasy X, where if you're not using them, they still level with you, but the people that you are using are leveling slightly more. So it kind of incentivizes that, like, this is my party. It's usually Cloud, Tifa, Yuffie, or Cloud, Tifa, Red for me, or Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, actually. But
for me, it's Cloud, Barrett, and Yuffie.
Yeah. But you're not losing anything on the characters that you're not using. They're still leveling with you. If you ever want to interchange them at any point, you still can. And of course, they are still leveling material, so you want to do that. But they're not wasted. You know what I mean?
The combat can be really great, and it's got all these positive things going, but I do have some negatives there. It can also be kind of unfair, and the most unfair part of it is that when you get hit and you just use an ATB and then it doesn't use the ATB and your character gets hit backwards and you lose that ATB, why is that a thing? That just doesn't seem fair for getting hit. Like, I get the the attack being canceled. I get that.
Fine with being interrupted.
But losing the ATB doesn't seem fair.
It's got to be just a mechanic of if you use the ATB, or if you start the attack, it uses the ATB. So maybe they just didn't program a way to get the ATB back if the move doesn't go off. So as soon as the move is started, you lose the ATB, and if you get it interrupted, then it's gone.
I think it's great that this game has mostly positive vibes until the end. If you do compare it to some of the other Final Fantasy, or like Final Fantasy VII Remake even, most of it is just like, we're going to a new location. All right, let's party. Let's party. It kind of has had that feel for most of it, and I think that that's nice. A lot of times it can make for some pretty good character interactions, and it does help lighten the mood for the majority of the game until you kind of get to the end when it seems a little too depressing.
No, I would agree. I didn't have that down as a note, but I did really enjoy the overall positivity. Like, it wasn't as mission-focused or, dire of a circumstance. It was, laid back like the games used to be.
Yeah, it didn't have, the feel of, the enemy is about to destroy the world. Okay, go explore the world. Take as much time as you need.
Right.
But he's about to destroy the world. No. He's not going to do it until you get there. So, take your time.
That'll be in the next game.
Yeah,
probably. I'm sure we'll have to deal with that.
With the meteor coming down, it's like, there's a time limit. We're gonna go fly around on our submarine or our spaceship.
Take your time. It's a long way that meteor's got to travel. You got lots of time.
It's right there. Yeah, so one minigame that really kind of bugged me was that Fort Condor minigame, because that game was more fun in just getting more pieces. It almost felt similar to Queen's Blood, where you could get these different pieces except for you're buying them in stores, and you can kind of unlock different pieces by beating different characters in the Yuffie DLC. And the way that you beat it in the Yuffie DLC was just simply beat them before they beat you. The time limit really wasn't this feature. But they did bring that minigame back. It makes sense in the area where you'd play Fort Condor in the original Final Fantasy VII. But they did just make it worse, and that kind of sucked, because that was already a fun minigame, and just playing a worse version of it, and it was also one of those ones that you had to do 3 times, so it fell into that category as well. So that minigame disappointed me when they already had a better version of it in the previous game.
Yeah, I would say the time limit did actually hold it back, but at the same time, thank you telling me I could just switch it to easy if I needed it to, and I did do that on the last one just because I said fuck it. But that time limit was annoying me.
And then another one of the mini games, or something that I want to talk about, is this game differing than the original Final Fantasy VII. had Muggles actually exist in the world in the original Final Fantasy VII, even though there's a lot of magical stuff in that world. The Muggles are not actually there. They're only there in like that weird arcade game about the fat Moogle that wants to learn how to fly. Muggles exist in this world, and while the minigame is okay, it kind of feels like Winnie the Pooh in Kingdom Hearts. It's not
Exactly
a bad
like
minigame. I would say the Moogle design, for me personally, those things look awful in this game.
I didn't mind them.
I actually didn't mind them so much, but I see what you're saying for how the base Moogles are in sound, but at the same time, I don't know, just when they sound high-pitched and cutesy and look more lifelike rodenty, it doesn't bug me too much. Actually.
I didn't like that the Golden Saucer was just a haven for minigames. It's like,
I mean, that
here
makes
and
sense.
play
That's
a
what
bunch
the
of
Golden
minigames.
Saucer is, though.
If
in
that was the
original.
only place, or like the central
Right.
place to play minigames, then yes, except there's minigames fucking
Everywhere.
everywhere.
But that's the idea with the original Final Fantasy VII, was it was a haven for minigames, so it makes sense that that would be the case in this game. It's just really that there's minigames everywhere else,
Yeah. Oh, I got to the Golden
actually
Saucer.
chime in
What
on
am I going to do? Another fucking minigame. Yay. 7 of them. Yay.
too.
Weirdly, I liked the Golden Saucer more in this game than I did in the original game. And I didn't have to play the minigames in the original game. But in this game, I really kind of wanted to. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say I
But
liked
I agree,
most of
because
them.
you just come out of the beach town where they...
Yeah, where you go on that date with
the
the...
beach town.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that was like, you're a little bit like worn out because they just gave you a huge packet of it. Then you move to the Gold Saucer, like, oh, really?
Here's some
Another whole
more.
clump? So I think what really ruined it was just adding a bunch to the beach town needlessly.
Yeah.
I think it's similar to Final Fantasy X, where there's sections of minigames that I think are a little too challenging. And I think part of that can actually be good. It can make for interesting stories. Like in Final Fantasy X, when you finally beat that Chocobo game with 0 seconds, you're like, thank fucking fuck.
Yes.
It's a Jesus Christ. And while it's frustrating and horrible, you'll remember that moment when you're finally done with it.
Yeah, 10 does that a lot better with that one than it does with, say, Lulu. Dodge 200 lightning bolts.
200
That's
lightning
just-
bolts? But
Ah.
I remember sitting in the dark and hurting my eyes watching those flashes for 200 lightning bolts.
I think you did it the
At least
hard way.
creates a story.
I found the way to cheese it, so it just felt repetitive for 200 times.
And you had to not fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say this game beats out that, but it's still some of these minigames, and it kind of falls into the same thing that Kyle had with the boxing minigame. Some of these are just too hard. Some of these minigames just don't need to be as hard. I think that's why we all hate the Cactar minigame. That one's actually a combat-focused one, but really it's just like, what the fuck? Can I even screw up? Like, the time frame that they have for those points, it's just too challenging for that cactus minigame. I
You
think the
barely
Chocobo
get the
one...
minimal.
Yeah, you barely get the the minimal takes multiple tries. Like sometimes you have to bump that down to easy. Like there's just a few of those mini games where I'm like, does it really need to be this hard? And then a few of them are balanced where they're all pretty easy. Like the Moogle ones I thought were pretty easy. But yeah, just the balancing of difficulty there.
Essentially, again, with everything becoming a minigame, like you recall the getting to watch the characters do the play.
Mhm.
Yeah. I really like that bit.
Yeah,
I
that
just
was
don't like
cool.
to have to watch and click buttons while I do it because it was
Yeah, the quick time
kind
events.
of a neat cutscene and like a funny little story to see. I just didn't want to have to like play a minigame while doing it, and a lot of games do that.
It's so interactive.
Right? It's like, this would be more if I could just watch them screw off. It'd be very fun. But
I
don't
think
wanna have
so,
to hit
too.
a bunch of buttons.
Especially with that one in particular, because that looks cool.
Right.
Yeah, they went delightfully over the top with it, and I thought that was a lot of fun. Just, I ended up hooking up with Barrett.
You had to figure out the Dark Lord's weakness or whatever. I forgot the option for choosing Barrett in that.
So talking a little bit about the romance side of things, I liked the teasing of the romance triangle between Aerith, Tifa, and Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually felt myself being sympathetic towards both Tifa and Aerith, and I felt myself wanting to be Cloud, because God, you got those options, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's true. It's not even just that. It seems like every chick is into Cloud.
Yeah.
And Zack. Those
And
two
he-
seem like they can do everybody.
And Cloud just doesn't give a fuck. He's like,
Yeah.
leave me alone. Oh,
It's like, we gotta find Sephiroth at the end of the game.
well, maybe Sephiroth is in my pussy. Want to check?
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't be there. It's too wet.
That's a trick.
I'm not falling for that again.
Again, Tifa.
God damn it, Tifa. I'm in your pussy again. Oh. But no, it tickled my little childhood.
Sorry, I just got a Cloud peek. And Sephiroth looking back, Cloud.
I didn't think you'd find me.
Cloud pulls.
Boom, 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 boom.
Cloud, why did you cut Tifa in half from the crotch down? Sephiroth! I thought it was Sephiroth. Shit.
I'm fucking crazy, guys. You didn't pick up on this by now. What the fuck?
I haven't been subtle.
But it just if I was 13 years old playing that, and there was that love story going on between the three of them, I would have been like, "Aww," and it kind of it touched me like that a little bit, I guess.
No,
Except
I think
when I was 13-year-old and I named the main love interest Aerith, the one I was interested in, and then she dies, and I'm all like, shit. Well, I guess
Who
I
was
gotta
that
take my
character,
plan
Steve?
B. Oh, you might have known her, Kelly. It was Kelly's sister.
Yeah.
So I love even just the little bit of things in the story, like because there are plenty of times when this game, because of how extended it is, that it can actually do stuff better than the original Final Fantasy VII. And even just these little moments, like when you walk in and Yuffie's singing Yuffie's song while she's on the couch, of the original version of Yuffie's theme for Final Fantasy VII, that was great. But even some little things like Red 13 changing his voice upset me. I'd say that's a negative overall. But they took the time to redo his voice for cutscenes that you could do at a later point, where he'll use the high-pitched voice or the low-pitched voice depending on when you do those. And
Right.
there's a lot of these little aspects that are done in the story that are just really cool. And a lot of these characters too are done so much better than the original game. And I like the original game a lot. It's on like my top 4 of best Final Fantasy games, and that's like one of my favorite series of all time. Like Yuffie in this game is better than Yuffie in Final Fantasy VII. Cait Sith in this game is far better than Cait Sith in the original Final Fantasy VII.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I thought
like that
you
Cait
wanted me.
No, that's a good note on the characters themselves. All the characters were actually way improved from their originals. Cait Sith was lovable, which was surprising.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
man, he's got charisma. He's helpful. He's actually like involved. It doesn't seem like just, hey, I'm an obvious spy, now use me.
Yeah. I'm still a part of your party, even though no one wants me here. The one character I think that seems worse so far, and maybe they'll change that in the next one, when he's at least just a dick to the girl that he kind of lives with. But I think Sid is a little bit too much of a lovey-dovey, I'm here to help guy. And like, that doesn't really seem like the character he was. And I don't know.
To be
if
fair,
that's...
I get mixed up with the abridged version of Sid, where he was a lot more assholish.
Sure. He's still pretty assholish in the original game. I would say it's closer to the abridged.
But at the same time, I don't mind a positive Sid, but yeah, I can see why that would be definitely upsetting to the fans of the original.
Mm-hmm. And then, for talking about characters, one of my favorite things about this game isn't just the relationship when they're trying to push, like, are you going to be with the main two, Tifa or Aerith, but also Tifa and Aerith's relationship together. It's just fun to see those two interact in a friendly way and just be friends. And it affects you a little bit more when you do get to the ending and you see how sad Tifa is after Aerith's death. It's like, those things weren't in the original game. Those are kind of new components, and honestly, that girlfriend or friendship or whatever that they have, I don't think they have a relationship like that with girls quite that strong in any Final Fantasy game, or even in most games that I play.
Even
Like,
in
if
most
there's-
media, actually, they can't portray women friendships very well, but those two were actually quite believable.
Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a major plus. And my major minus again would just be, I've already talked about it a little bit before, Cloud just sucks at the end of the game. Like, I didn't want Cloud in the party. I wanted someone to just slap the shit out of him. Like, that entire final dungeon where you're going through the ancient place, I'm just like, I don't like you. And I don't think anyone should. What the fuck are you doing? Why is this guy still here? Get him out of here. And
Actually,
maybe
sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was about to say, maybe I'm alone with that opinion, but I liked the balance much more in the original game where Cloud freaked out like once or twice, and then he didn't want to be with the party, but he kind of got talked into it, rather than what they did here where he's kind of crazy a little too many times.
What they did here definitely makes it seem like, why is the party trusting him at all? Like, he's obviously really unhinged. But at the same time, what they get mad at him for is what he's been doing the whole time, as far as I'm concerned. He's killed hundreds of soldiers and monsters and everything to get from point A to point B, and then suddenly he kills a soldier and a monster. They're like, Cloud, that's not you. How? We just showed blood in this scene. That's the only difference. Is suddenly we showed that his sword actually cuts things.
Oh,
Because, like, we cut through a lot of soldiers on our way, damn it. Barrett shot a lot of them. Like, suddenly now we show blood in the cutscene and everyone's like, Cloud, you're losing your grip.
I think it's because the portrayal was that Cloud lost control.
yeah, he was Sephirothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how could they even tell? He just cut people with
It
swords
looked
again.
way cooler the way he was holding the sword.
Cloud, that looked really freaking cool.
What's wrong with you?
You don't normally look that cool.
Mhm.
That was cool, I'm not gonna lie. When he lost his shit
was
the first time, it looked cool.
It looked pretty cool.
And then the other negative that I already went over is Red's voice, when it changes, made me dislike him more. And that sucked. I thought his low-pitched voice... I would really like it if he walked up to me and maybe I got some negative Red 13 voice. He's like, Cloud, you're cool with my new voice, right? And you could be like, no.
Then you get all the dialogue back in the original. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
he uses his low voice for the rest of the game. He's like, oh, I
It's a
see.
lot of work for
We're
that
not
voice
that
actor.
close.
You got to do the whole game twice.
But that's the thing. They already did for some of these side quests. So...
Ooh, actually, that's a good one. I didn't have this as a note, but let's get on the freaking, what do you call those people? The Red 13's, Evil Spirit Ghost people.
Oh, yep.
What the fuck were their
The
names?
bad people?
Goo? Yeah.
The Gee.
What were they?
They were the Gee.
The Gee. The Gee are bad.
Yeah, their whole premise is they are invaders from another planet that are basically, the planet is doused because they don't want them here, and then they try to make a big nuclear equivalent of destroying the planet and say, give us our nuke, and then we won't use it to nuke the world, it'll just help us rest.
Yeah, it'll help us
That's the
rest,
Gee.
along with everyone else that's you've ever seen or existed with.
Also, we'll keep attacking you so you know you can trust us.
And if you hear us talking, yeah, we're filled with hate. Like, that's what we are. We're just hate guys, so, you know.
Yeah, we're pure hatred. Pure hatred that can't rest in this planet, and we want the nuke.
Yeah, we want so give us the nuke. And then, like, a few times, Red 13's like, I'll give it to him. And I'm like, is he really going to give it to him? And then, like, when they're gone, he's like, I'm not giving it to him. And I'm like, whoa, this is weird. I've never seen a
That's a
story do
redemption
this
arc.
before.
I was pissed through the whole quest line. Like, what is he doing? You'll give him it? Why?
He's like, I
I'm
promise
not
I'll
doing
give
that.
this to you. Yeah.
But
And
no,
then at the end of
he
it-
said he promised, but then he like lied. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm not actually gonna
That
give
was
it to
great.
him. I'm
It
just
was
holding
funny.
my promise. That doesn't make any sense, Red.
Yeah. I don't think you're holding your promise, Red.
Yeah, Red went up in my book because of that. Like, no, I'm not doing
Just
that.
lying to those stupid
Like,
evil
fuck
guys.
those stupid guys.
They're hate spirits who killed my dad.
Those guys are fucking ridiculous. I'm not listening to them. I had a little touchy-feely moment just with Red's story and him, like, he hated his dad. It's kind of a Titus thing. Hated his dad and then, like, found out the true story and then loved his dad and then wanted to honor his dad and all that kind of bullshit. It was a nice little character arc for Red.
Yeah, that was, I think, done... I would say that's one part that I liked more in the original Final Fantasy VII. But the original Final Fantasy VII didn't have the Gi walking immediately after that.
Fire.
Yeah, you take the Gi out of the picture more, and actually I think it would have been better in this one. It's just the Gi kind of like pissed on the parade. But I do agree where Kyle's coming from with that. And on that note too, some of the character development, like Barrett's story, got a little more developed too. I got teary-eyed, like during the dying bit there. Just going over the back of Barrett's, or not even during the dying bit, even towards the end when you're in the temple and you're just kind of going through everyone's character.
Oh, that's
a little
dark
more.
for everybody.
Yeah, it's a little dark for everyone. You see Barrett's interaction with his wife a bit more. It's always like, wow, damn, I'm getting a little choked up. I'm really glad I took him on a date. He needed that.
Yeah, took him on a date.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Sure.
Is Marlene Barrett's daughter or Dine's daughter?
It's Dine's.
Dine's daughter.
Okay. I thought I got that right, but I was confused.
I don't know if I need to point it out, but
yeah,
Barrett
they're
and
different
his wife
skin
were
color.
both black.
Yeah.
Not saying it can't happen.
I have one note on Zack, and it's just that I liked being able to play with him in combat against Sephiroth at the end. I thought that was fun, I guess.
Yeah, you also, on a
Go ahead.
similar note, play as Sephiroth in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's just for a short time, similar to the times that you do fight with Zack, the Sephiroth part kind of, I mean, you play as Sephiroth, sort of. It just doesn't play any differently than anyone else in the original Final Fantasy VII, except for he's way stronger. And I would say that does a better job of showing off his power compared to everyone else.
For sure.
But, yeah, it's cool that you get to play as these characters even for a short time. And you get to play with Zack, teaming up in the final fight, too.
I'm with Kyle. I gained more of an appreciation for Zack in this one, and thought it was kind of nice seeing him around, even if it had to use the multiverse to shoehorn it in there.
I mean, Zack really didn't have a huge role in the original Final Fantasy VII. It wasn't until like a
Exactly.
spin-off game, Crisis Core or whatever. Yeah, this world is huge, and then it also has very little glitches. So that is crazy to think about for how massive this world is and how much stuff they have, how much different mini-games they have, so different ways to control your character. Maybe you'll run into a few glitches in your 100-hour playthrough, but not really that much. Like, none of them that I can think of that stand off the top of my head. I don't know if you guys had different experiences there.
I ran into 2 major glitches right at the end. One has since been patched out.
Oh, yeah, the one that everyone did with the side quest?
Yeah, the can't stop, won't stop side quest, where if you already have a high score in the mini bike game, you can't complete the quest. So that one screwed me. Like, I was so 100% in it until that came along. And then I also had in the end fight, too, with Cloud and Aerith against the final boss. Just, yeah, he got stuck in an invulnerability frame and I couldn't kill him. That was fun. So I had to redo that whole thing again.
That is funny. That one's a pain. On a side note with that, and it's similar to the combat, when you do die in these tough combat situations with these bosses, trying to figure out how to restart from that battle where you just died and not restart earlier than that is like solving an ancient riddle that's passed down through some tomb that you have to read some hieroglyphics to figure out.
Do you want to start from the so-and-so at so-and-so, or do you
It's
want
like
to...
all read the exact same way.
Right. These all sound the same. You gave me 3 options that all sound like start from the beginning of the fight, but I know one of them isn't, at least.
Yeah, the beginning of the fight, the beginning of when you fought Hojo, the beginning, it's just like, what? When you have to control Kate Sith, and I don't know if this falls into the minigame category or falls into the combat or whatever, his fat
Falls into
Moogle
a
moves
Hojo
way too
problem.
slow. It's like the way he hobbles around, and you have to switch to a low guy to just run somewhere, and then you hop on the fat guy, he's like, doom, doom. It's like, okay, move it along.
I think
Yeah, a
it
little bit
felt
quicker.
slower because we were going through another Hojo murder maze.
They just wanted to make it slower for that reason.
No, I think it's just why it felt slower to us, because we just
Oh, okay.
didn't want to be there.
I feel
It's
like he
damn
moves
it, another
a little too
Hojo
slow.
murder maze. Go, I need to get out of here.
And here's one that we kind of went over with a little bit, but not completely. All of those side quests that are in these open worlds, they all have a character attached to them. And yeah, Steve was talking about it when all these characters, you do learn a little bit more, but it is cool that they kind of, even if it seems kind of pointless, it's like, why did you choose that character for this?
Yeah, like,
Yuffie one?
why does
Okay.
Yuffie care about this?
Yeah.
He never even met this
Yuffie
person.
likes this chocobo, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny how it can choose the character for it. But it is cool that you at least have that character to learn more about, maybe, and then just kind of have that time with. But it is
Who
what it is.
the fuck is Maya?
So
And
Maya,
why do
I
we
guess,
care? Why are we doubling down on the
On
Chadley
Chadley's?
VR thing? Like, I've tried to be gracious with Chadley, and I found a way to be gracious with Chadley. We don't need it twice, and she
Yeah.
doesn't do anything. She just comments, and they just bicker a little bit. And it's supposed to be cute. It's dumb. Why? Why are we doing that?
I can explain that actually very clearly. Chadley is a festering pile of shit that attracts flies. And Mai is the bug light that they were hoping would distract you from the fact that he's a pile of shit in the game.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, wow, that bug light is bright. It's distracted me from Chadley.
It's a distraction that's worse than the shit, though.
I don't think she's worse, but she's not any better.
It's completely unnecessary. Doesn't need to be there. Serves no purpose. There's no
Yeah, that sounds
function.
like Chadley.
Chadley serves a function. He actually provides a reason for the minigames, even if you think the reason is a bad reason. At least it's a function. Maya provides zero function. She's just there. Why?
She gets background data.
No, she doesn't.
On the enemies.
She
Well,
talks
she does,
to
but who
Chadley.
cares?
Yeah, she talks to Chadley, or she tries to
Chadley
get
needs someone to talk to.
Chadley gets all upset. Like, why is she talking with Cloud? I need to talk with Cloud.
Every time Chad chimes in, he's all like, Mai, don't annoy Cloud. I'm like, Chadley, you do know what you did the entire first game was annoy Cloud. And continue to do so in this
I
game.
was like, every time she talked, I was like, skip, 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 skip.
They even have an option where you can disable her from repeating herself when you redo monster things. Because they knew it would get annoying.
Yeah, and I think that one's fine.
I don't know why they don't have an option to disable Chadley from chiming in every time you scan a fucking rock.
That'd be
If they
nice.
could remove
Cloud!
Chadley from the game, that'd be a great option.
Be a hell of an option.
Yeah, he doesn't need the dialogue every time you fucking do something. You don't need to
Cloud.
interrupt my game to hear him talk.
I just love that each one of these open world sections that you actually go into, they all feel different from each other. Maybe it's the way that the Chocobo interacts, or just even how the map is. I know a lot of people don't like the Gongaga region.
I got a
lost
side
there
rant
too.
for Gungaga.
Right.
So I would have liked a little bit more of the customizable outfits and uniforms. It was kind of cool, not just because I'm a perv, but it was kind of cool getting to Costa del Sol.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being able to like unlock the uniforms for your characters. You get a little bit of that later with like the soldier uniforms and some other bullshit, but
sailor outfit.
oh yeah, fuck yeah. It would have been cool if like maybe every region had a unique uniform that you could unlock via side quest instead of a mini game. Maybe that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, I do enjoy a good cosmetic every now and then. I know Kelly, though, he'll stay true to the original even if he had the options.
I like the options. I'm just going to wear the original. I can't not wear it. For at least for the first playthrough. But sometimes in second playthroughs I'll mix it up. I'll be able to break
But I mean,
out my...
you know, maybe maybe you're in the grasslands and like Cloud gets I don't know, like
Grasslands
a
outfit.
woodland outfit or something, and then
Yeah,
like
grass skirt.
and like Tifa and Aerith get to wear like a skimpy little grass skirt or something. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, with
And you
just
get to like the
leaves.
desert area, and then like Cloud's got this big, you know, like heavy,
Desert skirt.
like a desert uniform
skirt.
protecting him from the sun. And then like Tifa and Aerith got these little skimpy outfits, and they're like in their bikinis. That'd be pretty cool. And then
You know, because they need to tan.
yeah, they need to tan. Just something like that. I'm spitballing, but you know.
No, I think that would be cool to have more more side outfits in different ways
Then
of
you get
unlocking
to
with them.
jungle and it's like it's hot and they're like, we don't even need our clothes here.
That would make my experience better.
That would improve mine too.
No, I agree. Maybe in the next game they'll have more side outfits. They certainly had more in this game than they had in the original one, and they give you more control over it, so you never know. It's possible that this game could have DLC similar to how the original game is, so who knows, they might throw a few outfits in there too. Maybe a Vincent DLC or something.
And then like maybe you get to the golden saucer, and like Cloud's
It
dressed
was
up
like-
as like a gambler, like he's got his visor on and everything, and then like Tifa and Aerith are like, oh, we lost all our clothes in a strip poker game, and we're just in our bra and panties. That'd be great. I think that would be fantastic.
I think a lot of
And then
people
they're in
get behind
Cosmo
that.
Cloud, Cloud has I don't fucking care anymore actually. Like one of those dancer outfits. You know,
Oh, that'd be
the
good.
desert,
I would like that. Like a bunny
Yeah.
suit. That'd be good.
Right? Get a little Dragon Quest in there.
I was after you dolphin your way up to the whole Shinra assassination mission. and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
just moseying in front of all the Shinra soldiers
hated
as
that.
wanted criminals, and no one cares.
That was my least
you're
favorite part of the
talking
story up
to
to that
him.
point. It made no sense.
Right? I actually saved a lot of footage of just like me posing in front of them. Even they're saying like, we got to keep our eye open for those criminals and
Avalanche.
posing
Who
in
the
front of
fuck's
them.
Avalanche? Because I think I know them pretty well, and I don't think you do. Yeah, literally just allow you to change outfits before that. Like,
Right?
just
That's
have the
all they need to
outfit.
do is like put
Yeah.
the uniform on before we go out in public.
Problem solved.
Same section, just after you get all your clothes on. Well, actually, just during.
Why
You
are they
cannot
naked?
see Aerith and Tifa naked.
Yeah,
No matter
Steve
what you
said
do with
he
that
really
camera.
tried.
I got the
Like-
camera over the door. Took forever. But yes, they are still enclosed. So let me just save you all some time. It don't work.
That kind of goes
didn't
along
bother
with
making a
Steve's,
nude
with
model.
Kyle's comment with the desert outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that's great about this story too is it usually hits similar to having a positive note. Is that early Final Fantasy games draw this weird like line because of, you know, I think the visuals play a role in this too because they're not so visually demanding. They play a role of being mostly goofy throughout. Especially the original Final Fantasy VII had this with like Red 13 in like a normal outfit waddling around. And I think this game does a fairly good job of matching that goofiness. Where there are times when I don't know if it's always laugh out loud funny, but it's goofy enough.
You know, I would agree. Because it
good.
takes an art form to actually have like Red 13 dressed as a human and still have the humor kind of hit the same note.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, it's, to have a realistic game with that kind of cheesy, cartoony humor back in the day, like, they did a good job.
One small little thing that I have a problem with the world design is that I really wish that, and this probably isn't a problem for most people, like there's that fog around an area before you walk on it on the map. I really wish towers just kind of cleared off that map so I didn't feel like I had to walk all over it to get rid of that fog. Or it gave you a bigger bubble where you
fractals.
cleared more of those fractals. Those fractals bug the shit out of me. One thing with the combat that does tick me off is there's a few enemies that I'm sure everybody will have difficulties with. One of them that I want to point out that I particularly despise after playing the endgame content, which is like those hard VR missions. There's a white wolf called White Terror, where it just has a shit ton of HP, it runs around, and it's got this big fiery explosion attack that it does every like 20 fucking seconds that you're supposed to be able to stop by attacking it, but it does nothing. I don't know if it's glitched. That enemy fucking sucks. I will say I did actually enjoy it more than I thought I would. The two summon fights are balanced more appropriate than the fact that there's two summons, where I don't think I lost a single one once I came back after beating the game and leveled up materia a little bit.
Yeah, once I was the appropriate level. I lost a lot when I first got there. I was
Right.
like, screw this. Yeah, well, I may be 10, 15 levels behind, but still, screw this.
Mm-hmm. And I
Ooh,
thought that
hard.
those fights were actually pretty fun, and same thing with Garugamesh.
Like, post-game content for me is my own personal pet peeve. I just hate when there's something I can't do before I beat the game. Like, hey, if
Yeah.
you want to do all the optional stuff, you need to beat the game. Like, screw you, damn it.
Yeah, and it certainly feels that way with the upgraded AP you get. Like, it seems like that would be pretty helpful for the summon fights and the Gilgamesh fight.
Yeah.
But I do like that he gets his own island, and that's pretty cool. It's not in VR; you actually fight him. Man, if
Yeah.
they did that more often.
That'd be pretty
Yeah,
rad.
how hard would it be?
Yeah.
In fact, they got a lot of these big fighting areas where they could put a summon fight, but, you know,
Yeah.
they just don't.
Yeah, they put some other random fight in there. Maybe this is just a problem with me, is some of the open world stuff, while I think it's great that there's that much content, feels a little bit too modern checklisty for me, where it's mostly not an issue because the game's fun to play around it, but some of the content is like, go to this tower, you know, even the repetitive life spring or whatever. And it feels a little bit more checklisty, like modern open world content usually is. Or
Yeah, there's
people
some
want to
of that
say
for sure.
Ubisoft. Just a little bit less of that. I think I'm in a minority where I don't like checklists at all. I would rather. I don't think it's possible, but like I love the original Final Fantasy games, like on PlayStation. They have side quests, but they're all relatively simple, and there's not that many of them. So you never need a checklist of each one that you're doing. You don't need a checklist of Final Fantasy IX that you're collecting, whatever coins, cancer coins or whatever, like just Taurus. Like, you don't need those and give it to the bird lady, you know? Like, whatever side quests they have, or playing hot and cold occasionally. You don't need some side quest thing in your menu telling you that you need to do all those. And that kind of stuff bugs me a little bit, but that's probably more a personal thing.
Vincent and Sid felt a little bit like an afterthought, even though I am looking forward to what they do in the next game. It was kind of a letdown that they introduced Vincent and Sid.
Without letting you play them?
Correct.
And they just hang back.
Yeah, there's even a couple cutscenes where Vincent's like, okay, you guys going here and I'm gonna do this. It's like, well, are you really doing that? I'm not sure. I can't do anything with you, you know?
I think they even like fourth wall broke and made fun of themselves for it, like on occasion with Vincent, just for how ridiculous it was that he wasn't being involved in certain points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why is he even there? Doesn't feel like he's there. It never feels like him or Sid are... Well, Sid's different. You get to use his airship and the boat thing, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But...
Right. Yeah, Sid played a role that made sense
Mhm.
for why he wouldn't be involved. He never expressed himself as a fighter.
Yeah, but why is Vincent there? Just because it was already written into the story, and they had they were at that point in the story. Yeah,
you could do Vincent's optional bit at any point, really. So it's like you didn't have to technically introduce Vincent, but
that's true.
Pacing overall, I found there's way. It's like the first game remake had way too many forced walk like sections where you just kind of have to walk behind Aerith at like a snail's crawl pace.
Mm-hmm.
This game still did that, and it's an open world game. Felt doubly insulted.
Yeah, why
am I
that?
forced to walk? Like,
why do I need to have
explore here?
Zach's leg get broken and stumble across this fire part, and it takes like 3 minutes?
Exactly. Like, why? And then, hit R2 to crawl with your right hand and L2 to crawl with your left hand. Like, you gotta be shitting me at this point. Like, fuck you. Just show Zach, get to the point. Like, it really is not going to ruin the game. It will go from a 101-hour game to a 100-hour game to cut out all the walking. It just will feel better.
Yeah.
Or, here's a little side mini quest. Follow the numbered people as they slowly walk from one point to another.
Christ.
You can push them.
Wait for them to get to the door.
But you can push them.
Yeah,
do you think they're going to that factory?
Right?
I don't know.
Let's exactly where they're going. I run ahead of them to there, but nothing happens. I'm gonna wait, I guess.
What if they turn left or right? You're not gonna know. You gotta follow.
Yeah, they're pretty quick and wily. I don't think you want to get too far away.
Yeah, that last chapter, or not last chapter, the last territory area there, just like following the damn remnants around. Like, screw you, you are just being like insulted now.
Yeah, giving you the push option.
Right. Like, you know what you did. So yeah, a lot of padding for an already long game. We've discussed that there, but yeah, it's mostly just the walk-in pace, and like I thought was just a little tiny thing they really didn't need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gungaga. We kind of touched on Gungaga, but I think it just needs emphasis that those fucking jump point mushrooms suck. Like, I did not have an issue exploring anywhere in this world until I got to Gungaga.
It's the worst.
So how do I know
chocobos.
which mushrooms jump to what points? And that's it. Then I can segue to chocobos a little later, but yeah, the whole point being is that like you get through all these jumping points in Gungaga. That's the only time I had to look up where I need to go next. Until then, Cosmo Canyon comes around, and they're not as bad because you can kind of control your direction from those jump points, but still more jump points, which felt like two of the same chocobo in a row.
I don't think Gungaga is bad because of the jump points, because there's not actually that many times you have to use that to get to a new spot. It's bad because the map doesn't do a good job of describing it, but like the entire section is put into two halves, and one of them's the half that leads to like the reactor, and the other half is like one door out of the town that leads to like the entire second half on the other side of the reactor. And the map does not do a good job showing you that those paths are not connected to each other.
Right. Gungaga was my least favorite area to explore. Like, again, though, I'll give them credit. They had kicky music, at least, so that was alright.
Yeah, I love the music there. The music in this game overall is pretty fantastic.
This is a very minor gripe, but I feel like they could have expanded on this more with little effort, is that the chocobos felt kind of redundant in the terms of exploration to me, because they all were basically just a key to an access point. They weren't actually like something that says, hey, now I can get to this place I couldn't get to before in an older region, like a Metroidvania fun form of exploration. Like, now that I got the chocobo that can run up mountains, I can return to the grassland and go up that mountain. or something like that, or climb this one little thing.
Like a
Yeah, they
Pokemon.
made
So
them
it's just-
region specific.
They're region specific, and they're the first thing you get in the region. So it's basically just like not really needed even. Like
I think that was their way of trying to make every open world area feel different. Because the one
Yeah.
area where you don't get a chocobo like that is the area where you also get a car.
Oh, right. The desert.
Yeah, you get the buggy.
I personally didn't like driving the buggy, but
I thought it was fun. I thought it was different. But yeah, it's just their way of making each one of these open world areas that you're in different from each other. And I like that they did that personally. The next game, I would much rather I'd much rather prefer them go in the more Metrovania route that you're saying.
right. And even if they don't do that, like say they kept it region specific, like take the last chocobo you get for example, that actually made Versa feel better. Like you felt like you had a quality of life improvement with that last one, with its ability to hover.
Yep.
And it's just like I feel like all the other chocobos should have had at least some kind of quality of life improvement to exploration, aside from the fact that they can unlock the access point in their area. Also, too, chocobos, as soon as there's another chocobo complaint, they stop and whine when they touch a tree way too much. Like, it's like, oh, I bumped a twig. Wow! Okay, this is not making traversing fun with the chocobo. I could walk there quicker than waiting for you to stop over every twig. For quests, around chapter 12, they just kind of like, after you complete, if you're completing quests at this point, like 100%, you're doing a good job cleaning up your territories. Then chapter 12 comes along, and they're just like, now go back to all of them and do like a huge handful more. And I don't mind going back to do quests, but it was like all at once, and that felt really overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It's chapter 12 quest dump, where it's like all the new areas now have like another like third of their quests opened up. And after having everything so cleanly completed, I was like, damn it!
I don't think it was that much, but you did feel like you were getting closer to the end of the game, and you already spent like 100 hours with it. You know, or
Right,
80.
and you're already sick of mini games, so you're just worried you're gonna have to do more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think there was that
wasn't
much
that
side
big of a
quest in
deal.
each area.
That one wasn't too big of a deal, but just something worth mentioning.
So Steve took Barrett on a date. Kelly, who did you date?
Tifa. I made sure. I
got-
made
oh.
sure I took Tifa by being dicks to, or not talking to everyone else. When I had like those sections where you talk to everybody that break up in the game, I'd talk to them and then load my save right before I save right before I talk to them, so I never actually talked to them. And if I had to talk to them, I'd be a dick, because everyone was liking Cloud too much. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
It's very funny that you put that much effort into it.
I had to make sure.
Well,
I had
the
to
funny
make
thing
sure.
is, the effort I put in is I looked up Tifa's answers, and I didn't look up anyone else's. So I did Tifa 100% right, but I didn't have her in my party, and apparently that made all the difference because Barrett was always in my party from the start of the game. So that was
Barrett's
what made it.
very good in your party.
I just like having him around. He fills up ATB gauges really comfortably at a distance, and yeah, he's just good support. But I did find out Tifa wrecks the stagger bar towards the end of the game, so I kind of like regretted using her more in the end, especially after I dated Barrett.
Barrett's a fantastic lover too. Steve?
Nah, I watched all the
They don't seal
date
the deal
scenes.
in the date.
Yeah, the date, Barrett's just like,
In fact, the whole date
you gotta
Barrett's just
date a
like, you
chick.
need to do better with women.
Yeah, he's like, you gotta date a girl, Cloud.
But that being said, though, a little side note, I actually like Dio from the Gold Saucer.
Oh
World in this
yeah,
game.
Dio's fun.
Like he went from kind of an anti-villainish kind of character in the first game
Or a
to kind
nothing.
of more of an anti-hero. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, he was actually kind of a good guy. You just kind of wanted to be a bro with.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if Carneo had to be in this game. He's a little more cartoony for a guy that sells sex slaves.
I was gonna say
But,
the same thing, yeah.
Roche is a
now?
character that's
Oh,
a
Roche.
fun addition to the series.
Which one is that?
Wait,
sucks.
which one was Roche?
Roche was the other soldier that in this game eventually turned into a black robe.
Oh
after he
yeah,
fought
that's
you.
right.
Right,
The
right,
biker soldier. I do like Roche.
Roche is fun.
Like, oddly enough, he is a little fun every time you see him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got a note here for splitting the party.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
me
like the
too.
way they do it personally.
I had more of a complaint about splitting the party, actually, because I felt like I was doing everything twice with splitting the party. It's
If they make you
now
go
I
through
get to
the
follow
same
this group
map-
go do it. Which they
This-
do deviate at a certain point in most of those cases, but you still kind of repeat some of it. It just was like, I already set this up, now I gotta see the other people do their side of it. I just didn't, I wasn't too into it myself, but it didn't ruin the game or anything.
I like that it forces you to play as other characters, so it gives you time to learn them if you don't
That's my
normally.
other complaint.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to play them. I don't like Aerith.
I chose
wanna
my
play
party
Aerith.
for a reason.
Yuffie, Barret, Cloud. I will accept Eva. That's it.
Yeah, I enjoy that. So not a negative for me personally.
Did they have to do that with that last fight? With that, like, the final Sephiroth battle where you're falling through the fucking... I don't even know
Yeah,
what you
that's
call
really
it.
fun when your Mog doesn't have any materia on him.
Exactly,
and you
that's
didn't
what I
realize you'd have
mean.
to use
Like-
him in the fight.
I was
You
just
got
kind
him
of...
back.
I was just switching
Yeah,
between...
I stripped all his materia beforehand.
I was just
I
hoping
had
there was
materia.
somebody in the party that I've played enough to be familiar with where I could just, like, sync back to them. Like,
Isn't
fuck.
Yuffie in there?
Yeah, Yuffie's in one of them. I don't remember the parties exactly, but being forced to play in a party where I'm really not familiar with the characters in a boss, like a final boss fight, I do
I
don't
know what
I
you
didn't like
mean.
that.
They forced me to use Barret, and I'm like, no one likes playing as Barret in this game.
I like Barret.
No, I actually, I get where you guys are coming from, but especially the final boss, but that's kind of a standard Final Fantasy thing. I don't think Steve probably likes on any of the Final Fantasy games that do it, but it's very common.
But I think that the term soldier is kind of fucking lame in this game. And
Yeah.
in fact, in all of Final Fantasy VII. This is more of a Final Fantasy VII gripe.
Like a soldier is a
shows
rank
more in this
that's
game.
not just soldier. Yeah. I
No,
get what
it's
you mean.
mostly that, but it's also the fact that these are enhanced superhumans. But Tifa can knock out a fucking dragon, and she had 3 years of kung fu under her belt. That's Tifa's entire combat history.
Yeah, but she got
Like,
good.
she can knock out a dragon.
That's
So it
true.
makes Super Soldier Cloud seem really pathetic that with a whole damn sword he can't do that as well. He can
Yeah, but
punch
this-
harder than the Super
Everything's
Soldier.
balanced. If you choose a weapon in the Final Fantasy universe, it's going to be balanced. It doesn't matter what the weapon is. You choose a
Right.
gun, it's not doing as much as a sword.
Then you take the Turks, you got like Rufus and Reno and Elena.
Yeah, what the
Elena,
fuck
too,
are they?
like- right,
That's
they're
a-
just regular people.
Yeah, they're
And
not injected
Super
with
Soldier
Geonova
Cloud
cells.
struggles fighting them in an unfair fight where it's 3 against 2 even sometimes.
Like, what, are they using materia? Like, what powers do they have?
I think they would use materia,
Right,
because
yeah, here's the
anyone
breakdown
can
of
use
Tifa,
materia.
for example, who we actually have. Like, we know Tifa's years. Tifa is 20 years old. The earliest she could have started training was 12, which had to stop
Not as
at
hot.
15 when her master died. So 3 years of martial arts as a kid, plus 5 years establishing herself as a bartender in Midgard. So, a chick who took a karate course in high school is tougher than Super Soldier Cloud.
Waka uses a fucking blitzball, Steve. Do I have to remind you of every other weapon that exists in these games and how people fight?
Yeah, but you hate
The
Waka.
ridiculousness is fine, but he's a super soldier. It's just the fact that he's an enhanced human who is not an enhanced human is so pathetic.
Oh, he's an enhanced human where being an enhanced human isn't unique because there are other humans without that injection that are also somehow enhanced.
They're
Right,
pretty
which makes
good.
Cloud seem more pathetic that he couldn't even keep up with a little girl.
I think the
Yeah.
problem is Hojo's the one that's in charge of that group, and Hojo just sucks at what he does.
Yeah, I don't think he enhanced people. I think Hojo just gave him a disease
just
that
poisons.
degenerates their cells.
He probably does.
Like, I don't think they're super.
Or they were already super to begin with.
Yeah, let's go
Hojo's
with
taking
that.
credit for it.
Let's
While
go with
poisoning
that.
them?
They had some latent super potential. And he just poisons them.
It wouldn't be out of character that takes credit for it. All right, let's talk about the end of this game. The fact that there's alternate timelines. The fact that Dick Ghosts are back.
Yay.
Which are also time ghosts. If you're confused on why we call them Dick Ghosts, you have to ask Steve on that one. Just message.
They look
Just
like
put a
dicks.
message in the bottom.
And they dick
Steve
things.
claims they look like dicks.
If you do something and you look semi-phallus shaped, you are a dick.
They apparently look phallus shaped. I don't know what doesn't look phallus shaped at this point. They're in
Long
this
and
boat.
shaft-like, and they screw the game.
But yeah, there's alternate timeline stuff back. I have my theories on how the end of the game works, which I hope are correct, because they, for me personally, make the game better. But I think with the ending being as ambiguous as it probably is, it's almost like a Warshak. I'm trying to think of how to actually say that word. I should know. If you want this story because they already changed it to be different than the original Final Fantasy VII, I think you can see enough there where it's just like, see, it's probably different. But if you're like me and you want it to still be relatively the same, and there are, at least I'll say, there are developer interviews that say it's going to go into Advent Children, which means it has to be the same. If those interviews are true, I guess you could just say, oh, they're lying to you in the interviews, even though they've never done that. Or there's a comment that's made by one of the people in Cosmo Canyon that specifically hints that the alternate timeline stuff is essentially just happening in the live stream, similar to how summons are memories in the live stream kind of created through the materia as magic. The live stream can also play, because it's got the knowledge of the ancients and it's got the knowledge of the people that were dead. It can kind of play these alternate timelines, but they're not actually alternate timelines. These people are still dead in the physical world. That's what it's suggesting, this one comment line. I'm not saying that's for sure what's going to happen. It's just what I think is likely. And I don't believe anything in these alternate timelines is actual real reality. It's why Sephiroth can be there, because Sephiroth is actually in this timeline, even in the original Final Fantasy VII, in the live stream. The Sephiroth that you see roaming around before that is Gianova in Sephiroth form. So all of this stuff to me appears to be happening. That's the alternate timeline stuff with the other dogs happening in these kind of pocket live stream created events. So I don't think that they're actually real. I think Aerith is dead physically, and through the live stream, which Cloud kind of got like Mako injected into him after, I guess this is spoiler stuff if you never played Part 3 or never played the original Final Fantasy VII. He's had Mako injected into him along with Zack before they traveled back to Midgar. Even the scene where Aerith is like feeling, or like touches Zack, her hands like in the live stream while she's going down the Gi thing when she kind of feels like the Zack timeline. There's certainly stuff that hint where this alternate timeline stuff is really just more fluff, because the developers feel they need to keep people guessing to make it different. And it sounds to me like if that is the case, and I'm right, there's going to be some disappointed people that they added this stuff, and I guess they kind of have some right to be disappointed. They added this stuff that essentially means nothing.
Yeah, they'll probably explain it in the next one. If you're right, they'll explain it in the way that you just did. Like, oh, it's just a live stream, and it's not real, but it is real, so you can be happy or about, I don't know. It's just, my only note on this was, is this confusing or am I dumb? Because
everyone's confused by it, so
it's deliberately confusing.
Yeah,
because it's meant to make people guess. Like, it's withholding information.
But yeah,
and honestly, this is a note I have on the cynical side. Oh, sorry, finish your thought there, Kyle.
No, I was just going to agree with Kelly in that it's probably a device where the developers are wanting to keep you interested in the next part, even though it's probably just going to end up being...
They pretty much said that in interviews.
Okay, I didn't watch I didn't watch the interviews, but...
No, that's not watched. I guess I just read it in text form. But
right, and here's my take, though. Knowing, like, being a big fan of Kingdom Hearts, and knowing how Numera's stupid head works, I don't think he's going to explain shit. It's going to be a convoluted piece of crap that's never going to get explained. And multiverses ruin the stakes and everything, and he doesn't care because he doesn't need to explain anything. He just needs to add more and more crap and doesn't care how screwed up the whole plot gets.
I will say, Numera. Even without the multiverse stuff, the game already, with VR added in, it's already got this element of, and like darkness Sephiroth powers where he can be Commander what's-his-face that meets, what's the Shinra leader guy?
Oh,
Viceroy,
yeah,
what's-his-face, that's Sephiroth, that can teleport.
That could be Cloud's dad.
That can teleport anywhere. It already seems like they added in elements that ruin the weight of the world, even without the alternate timeline stuff, where anything can happen at any time. And that sucks.
Right, because that's how Numera works. He doesn't need to explain anything. And I don't think he's gonna. I'm like, we're 3 Kingdom Hearts games in out of the main series, plus a million spin-offs. Nothing gets explained. It just gets more confusing. Right. Side note, though, I think when Numera wrote this, though, multiverses were the thing when Rebirth came out. Well, actually, they're starting to get old already.
Yeah, I guess. And this
and
stuff
now he
takes
just had to
years.
commit to it.
This stuff takes years to make, so
Right now, it's like, well, shit. I didn't know multiverses were gonna fade out so quick.
I better write this as live stream stuff.
I don't have.
I got a side note on a plot hole in chapter 13. I don't know
Go
if
ahead.
you guys caught it. It's just more of these, like, kind of like, it connects to Final Fantasy IV with a conundrum. In chapter 13, essentially, when you're in the temple to get the black materia, Seng tells Aerith that only a Cetra can gain access to the materia. So this creates that Final Fantasy IV plot where if the villain repeatedly lets the heroes get the crystals, then takes them from the
why are
heroes,
we going to
made
get
worse. Like, yeah, so you would tell me Sephiroth can't actually get the black materia because only Aerith can get it?
I guess
So
the plot
all
hole
we
is
have to do
Cloud.
is not get it,
Cloud is kind of working
True.
for Sephiroth, even if he's not aware of it.
right? But at that point, they could have just said, oh, well, let's just leave.
Yeah. Cloud's like, you guys are leaving me? I
Yeah,
mean,
we're going to knock you out and leave.
yeah, we're gonna knock you out, because we like you when you're not crazy. All the girls are into your dick. Like, they just want it hardcore, so...
Right?
do want it
It's just a
hardcore.
Seng line that I know they didn't think of the stakes of it because it was so off-commently mentioned where he's just like, yeah, only an Aerith can can retrieve the black, or only a Cetra can retrieve it, not an Aerith.
Only an Aerith.
Only an
Like, well-
Aerith is, I mean, it's the same thing.
Like,
But I guess if you're fucking around
oh,
with timelines, then this is the one timeline or the one universe in a multiverse or a multi-timeline where they do choose to do that. Maybe there's infinite numbers of timelines where they do knock Cloud out and walk away.
I don't like to
But
think
you're
about
playing
that.
the one where they don't.
I'm hoping that that's
less
not true.
intelligent.
Yes.
I'm really, really hoping that none of that is true, because I don't like where you're going
Well,
with the story.
just saying.
I hope not.
Me too.
Yeah.
That being said, and so I actually think they didn't kill Aerith in this, but Kelly's convinced that she is dead.
I'm pretty convinced, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I could be wrong. It
We're
is
not
pretty
saying
vague,
anything 100%.
but I really that particular dialogue really seems to suggest it, and it's longer dialogue, and it's kind of hidden. I don't know. It seems like it's one of those things the developers would absolutely put in there for a vague story like this in a weird spot that has way more detail than it should. Where I'm like, okay, that's not a random person talking. Like, it's that's a little developer secret that they're trying to hide in there.
It might be. I have a feeling they're going to want to pander to people that are fans of Aerith, and they're going to keep it vague for that purpose. I think to Steve's
Right.
point, you're not going to get an
I think
answer
they already
to
did keep
anything.
it vague, though.
Even in the next, like the conclusion of this story, they're going to maintain the vagueness.
And I guess I can follow back on the interviews that said it's going to go into the Advent Children movie. She is dead in the Advent Children movie.
It's
Well,
true.
maybe not in the
Maybe that was a
remake.
live stream.
Maybe she'll be in a live stream Aerith, and you'll get to play her somehow, even though she's not real. But
I do think that's
good
possible.
enough for the player. You know?
I think
Joe
there's possible that you're in the live stream or something. I think the entire end fight with Sephiroth is some sort of weird live stream thing that you somehow get sucked into, because I don't know where else you go.
Yeah.
The little side universe that you go, or verse you go to, where Aerith is kind of going on a mini date with Cloud, and like they're just kind of. I thought it was really sweet, but also I was distracted by how incredibly dumb all the people were in that universe. Like, wait, this is your
they're
last day
going
on
to
Earth,
work?
and you just want to sell necklaces at your little like shop stand? You're like, oh, I needed this.
Going out of
Wow.
business. 50% off everything.
The idea they're going with there is that their dream is their job. So they love making necklaces so much that they wanted to make the best necklace possible before they died.
Oh boy,
I
could you
think
imagine?
that's-
I'm sure that's it. Like, they're just people that are really proud of their work. And it's
And
just
they
kind of
love
sad
doing
that
it.
that was their life.
Yeah, because I mean, I disagree with these NPCs, I guess. So, on the next game, I think talking about the gameplay, talking about the story, I do want it to wrap up. I would rather it wrap up the way that I discussed. I think there are going to be a subset of people that would be very disappointed by the ending that I think is correct. And they'd rather Steve's one or Kyle's one that leaves it, because they like Aerith. I get it. She looks great. I don't know. You gotta write a story. I would rather it be closer to the original one with some fluff built in there. So that's my bias. It's kind of the way that I see it, but maybe it is a little bit you see what you want to see type thing for everybody.
I get why everybody likes Aerith. She's
yes.
Moving
but
on.
she's dead. But she's dead. Everyone should be sad. Cloud isn't. He's bonkers. They didn't try to hide that part. But there's some gameplay stuff that I really think they need to clear up too. It seems like you're going to get the airship in the next one, so it seems like they're going to actually just bring in a full-on open world map, or I believe that's the goal, after what they have already built as a foundation for this game. They cannot have the same open world design that for the most part we liked in this one, where you're doing an open world section and then a linear one and open world one, because when you bring the airship into this and you're traveling back to these old locations, it's nice that you get to reuse them. If that's just full of side stuff, you're just going to be overloaded with side stuff at every single area, and it's back to locations you already played in the last game. I don't think that that's an actual option for what it is that they can do. I think it needs to be more sparse with these side quests, or more, I guess, I almost say old school or something. They need to go a different route with it than what they went with this one. And along with that, yeah, I'd say follow along with what they're already doing with the combat. If they can find more ways to improve it, more team attacks, I'm excited to play it.
No, a few things I'd like to see too in the second one is I'd like to see, now that we finally don't have any limitations, like just give us all the materia, like in spades. Like I want to see everything from the original Final Fantasy VII in bulk, like just thrown out there. Be liberal with it. Because that's, you got a lot more exploration. We can have a lot more materia to get. It'd be more fun. I'd like to see an improvement of the skill trees, to be honest. I know they're not necessary for Final Fantasy, but I like customizing. And the folio was a step, towards progress, but nothing seemed to really matter in the folios.
I agree. The folio system wasn't really that great.
3% bonus here. Okay. I wouldn't mind if there was a customizing, building your character up to feel a little more like it's the way you want to play him. I don't need it for Final Fantasy VII because it wasn't in the original, but since we're doing it anyway, I wouldn't mind it being a little more weighty.
They have so much choice already with the materia and the characters that you already get to choose being so different that I don't think it's necessary.
Between materia and characters, yeah, I got enough. But if we're gonna do it, I wouldn't mind doing it a little better.
Sure. I think the folio board system is not really great
it was
either.
Unnecessary. Yeah.
It's fine. It's not really a negative, but it doesn't feel like a positive either.
It achieved the function of the synergy attacks,
right?
And the getting a new limit break or whatever. Other than that,
at the top,
it felt pretty underwhelming. Other than that,
the concept of a party level wasn't a bad idea though, as a whole. Work with that a little more. Because everything that makes an RPG more fun to grind is when you're grinding for more than one thing at once. Hey, you're raising your AP, you're raising your XP, you're getting gold, you're getting a party level up. It's
Yeah, that was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Overall, we all at least liked the game to varying degrees, but we all liked it. I think it's a great Final Fantasy game. It's not up to the top tier yet, but I have a lot of faith in this development team and what they can do. I'd really like to see what they could do with a new Final Fantasy game after Part 3. I'd be more excited for that, honestly, than Part 3, but I'm still excited for Part 3. And we hope you enjoyed the watch. We hope you enjoyed the game. And if you watch this before playing the game, I'd buy it. Sorry for the spoilers. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.